We are firmly into November now, so it's time for the annual KDKA winter weather forecast.
And once again this year, the entire KDKA First Alert Weather team crunched the numbers to see what's in store for this winter.
We always like to start off our forecast by reviewing last year's performance. And we told you we were expecting more snow than the previous winter, but less than average. And that's precisely how the forecast worked out. We got almost twice as much as the previous winter with 34 inches of total snowfall, but fell short of average by about 10 inches. Month by month, we were pretty spot on with the exception of January. That was the one month our forecast fell short. We always tell you one or two systems can mean some big swings in the totals, and that's precisely what happened. We called for 10 inches in January, but ended up with 15 inches overall. And it was still a successful winter forecast in the end. We called for 28 inches, but ended up with 34, largely because of the slightly snowier than expected January. Now, let's get to this year. Here's Trey to explain this year's setup.
For wintertime forecasting in North America, we mainly focus on sea surface temperature anomalies in the Pacific Ocean and how they influence the position and strength of the jet stream. This winter, we're expecting a weak La Nina, or slightly cooler than normal waters in the equatorial Pacific Ocean, to transition to neutral conditions. This weak La Nina, coinciding with a blob of extremely warm water over the North Pacific and slightly cooler than normal waters in the Gulf of Alaska, will lead to the formation of frequent high pressure ridges coinciding with warmer than normal temperatures in the North Pacific Ocean. Frequent troughing and cooler than normal temperatures will occur downstream this high over the northwestern to central U.S., while another ridge of high pressure and unseasonably warm temperatures dominate in the southeast U.S. Western PA will likely fall in between these two areas, which means we should expect strong swings accompanied by above normal precipitation as an active jet stream moves across our area between these two dominant air masses. Before we get to this year's outlook on temperatures and snowfall, let's go to Mary for a look at the White Christmas forecast.
We may all be dreaming of a white Christmas, but here in Pittsburgh, the odds aren't exactly stacked in our favor. By definition, a white Christmas means at least 1 inch of snow on the ground on December 25th. Statistically, our chances for that are only about 30%, but a true storybook white Christmas where snow actually falls on Christmas Day, that's still rare, only 17%. In 2022, we had a snow depth of exactly 1 inch of snow on the ground, which then qualified. And the snowiest Christmas Day on record happened not too long ago, back in 2020, when Pittsburgh picked up 5.1 inches of snow, breaking a record that had stood since 1935. As for this year, it's still too early to tell, but what we can forecast now is how cold and snowy it's going to be this year, and Ron's going to start us off on that.
When making a winter forecast, you don't just use a couple of independent data points to make a decision. A winter forecast is finding out what story all of the data tells together. As Trey already told you, we expect a weak La Nina to settle in for the winter. This would normally make forecasters think warmer than normal temperatures here. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case, though, this year, as other teleconnections, that fancy word for global wind patterns, leads me to believe that there will be likely several powerful blasts of Arctic air. It's going to be a lot of mentions of that dreaded polar vortex come January and February. But as you can see, temperatures overall will range from near average to around 2 degrees below average. These numbers would put us as the second coldest winter of the last 5 years, just behind last winter. So what do these temperatures mean for how much snow we're going to see? Let's go back over to Ray for that.
The snow season looks to start off with near average conditions with 2 inches of snow possible in November. Winter officially begins in December, but the snow forecast is calling for a little more than an inch below average with 4 inches forecast for the month. Winter looks like it will kick into gear for what we traditionally call our snowiest months. We're calling for both January and February to come in near average. 14 inches is predicted for January, with February looking to get 11. Spring may try to sneak in on time, but not before another 5 inches is possible in March, which is a couple of inches below normal. April is usually good for a final inch of snow, and that's what we're calling for. When all is said and done, we're looking to get a little more snow than last winter, but still stay below the 41.9 inch average. At the end of this snow season, we're calling for a total of 37 inches of snow. And remember, it takes just one storm to throw that seasonal snow number off, and that's why we forecast each and every day. But we do these winter forecasts to give you an idea of how the winter looks to be shaping up based on what we're seeing right now. And if you remember at the top, I said January last year kind of threw our numbers off a little bit. It snowed all but I think 6 days that month. So it was just a bunch of snow over and over and over again in January. Nuisance.
Is it me, or are we getting much less snow than I remember?
Yeah, if you were eagle-eyed, you'd notice that the average of last year's snowfall is a little different than the average of this season's snowfall, because those averages do change. We use a 30-year average, and that has dropped a little bit because we haven't seen as much snow. So less snow gets thrown into the average. That brings your average down.
These kids today, they don't know how easy they have it, right?
I know. It was uphill both ways in the snow when we were young.
Darn right.
Stay off Ken's lawn.